This is Robbie Eagles.
This is the loosest in Australian wrestling, Adam Brooks.
Hi, this is Mimic. This is 5-time the world's heavyweight champion, the Scrap Daddy himself, Scrap Iron Adam Pearce.
This is Brian Alvarez, and you are listening to Wrestle Radio Australia.
Welcome to the show, folks. My name is Josh Armour, and thanks very much for downloading Wrestle Radio Australia. This is our first episode.
Oh, yeah! G'day, this is Big Brody Marshall.
This is Brian Alvarez.
This is Dean Brady of the Millennials.
This is Jurassic Punk Sid Parker.
How many of you guys have heard the term kayfabe?
Hello, doggers. This is Jay Hunter from OSW Review.
This is Matt Grim Basso.
This is the loosest in Australian wrestling, Adam Brooks.
This is Scrap Iron Adam Pearce, and you are locked in
to Wrestle Radio Australia.
I in the game, I'm champion, I'm Triple H. Undertaker, I'm your maker, bury the brother like Kane. Ooh, 1-3, hit the tombstone, hit the choke slam on face. Ooh, yeah, like a macho heel, tell like I'm Tommaso. If you sour like tomatoes, I'ma keep a couple models. Ooh, and you may call me HBK. When I'm tuning up the vein, you best be getting in my way. Ooh, yeah, I'm degenerate, I love it, yes, I love it. If you ain't down with that, then I got two words for you, suck it. Too sweet, put your fangs up. Too sweet, holding up the club. Let's be busy, 23, got me feeling way too sweet.
I was trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit, and it was just awful.
I've turned chicken salad into chicken shit. I will continue to do so.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. But a square peg in a round hole just never seems to fit. And you
This is Bianca Belair.
Hey, this is Kevin Owens.
Hey, it's Seth freaking Rollins.
It is the man, Becky Lynch.
It's Rhea Ripley here, and you're listening to Wrestle Radio Australia.
Hello and welcome to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia show where we talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. My name is Lachlan Albert, and tonight it is not just an episode of Making Chicken Salad, that's right, it is the 2024 Chickies, where once a year we decide what was the best, what was the worst, what we're seeing next year. We give out all the awards, so we need some people to join us. First of all, with the award for longest running member of Wrestle Radio Australia, it's Todd Eastman. Round of applause for Todd, everyone. Woo! Todd, how are you tonight, my friend?
We didn't agree on the chickies. I'm just saying. That wasn't workshopped, and we didn't agree on it. Look at that. It was so bad that he knocked his camera out.
Is gone. I don't know what's happened there.
That's the power I have, mate. That is the power I have.
And now that I'm back, I can welcome someone who has had a chickie or two in his life. It's Jeff Setti. Jeff, good to see you, brother.
Good to see you, Lachlan. Hope you're well, and not see you as the case was, and as always, good to see you, Beastie.
And look, it's a very special award show, and we've had someone who's contributed a lot to Wrestle Radio Australia and to Making Chicken Salad in 2024, so it would be criminal not to include him in our end-of-year awards show. Everyone make him welcome. It's Jamie Apps. Jamie, good to see you, brother.
I get no applause, that's fine.
That's a huge mustache.
It is, thank you.
I'm the Ricky Gervais of the show. I get no.
I'm sorry.
Start by 2024 new mustache of the year. Obviously goes to Jamie. Let's kick it off with that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now,
it's meant to be a 1 month thing, and it's turned into it's stuck.
Before we get too crazy, we need to make sure that if you want to have your voice heard in this conversation, and right now you are listening at 7:39 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, 8:39 p.m. Australian Daylight Savings Time on Thursday, the 19th of December, 2024, then it's time you got to be in here at twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia so you can make comments. You can be over on the Wrestle Radio Australia Facebook too, or on the Wrestle Radio Australia YouTube. Get in the comment section. Tell us what you think deserves to be considered for each of these award categories, because for a lot of them, we've got to come to a consensus, and that's going to involve you, the viewer. So make sure you are here and, following the social media so you don't miss things like this in the future. But we've got a big list of very prestigious awards to get through this year. And so we want to start with something positive. We're going to build up to the big ones. But I've had a bit of a shuffle of some of these categories, and I've thought let's start in a really positive place and talk about who is the most improved in 2024. That's a good place to start, to give some growth and recognize people who have seen growth over the course of the year. And for a lot of these categories, we're going to talk international first and then Australian second. Because as much as international has more people competing for it, really Australian wrestling's the hottest thing in the world right now. So that's the real awards are the Aussie ones, right? So we're going to talk about most improved wrestler of the year internationally. And I might kick it off with Jamie. Mr. Apps, who do you think is the most improved wrestler of 2024?
Okay, so this is technically international, but also technically Australian. I went with Harley Cameron because she has been just killing it in the last 6 to 8 months on AEW. She's so entertaining every time she pops on the screen.
Yeah, I will say I've got a couple of names written down in my shortlist for some things. Harley Cameron definitely on my shortlist. Jeff, do you have a pick for most improved international?
Yes, I do. It's someone from NXT who is improving leaps and bounds every time I see her, and that is Kaylani Jordan. She's got a really nice blend between scientific and high flying, and she's not a bad promo. She's got this nice baby face fire about her, and she kind of sucks you in with energy and a good disposition. I think she'll eventually work heel really well. Yeah, she's improved out of all sides.
Absolutely. Todd, who do you think's improved the most?
I sort of, it's weird because I have a couple of ideas, but I don't know if it's over this year, if it's been over the space of a couple of years. Do you know what I mean?
Well, speaking of that, in the chat right now, Andy Forzaria says Liv Morgan became must-watch this year. Couldn't have cared less 18 months ago. But I don't know how much of that was in this 12 months.
Yeah, see, that's my kind of my kind of vein is the same as what Andy is saying, but mine is like Dominic Mysterio. Because he's always had that he's been able to work that promo stuff, but his in-ring work is getting really good as well. His in-ring work is starting to sort of catch up to it. So he is definitely one that's on my list. But then there's also Kaiser from Imperium.
Ooh.
The fact that how he's been stepping up in that intercontinental sort of realm, especially the last couple of months anyway, since having to come out of that shadow of Gunther isn't an easy thing to do either.
I
absolutely agree.
I think his character work and presence has improved, but Axel Dieter Jr., as I know him, has always been a fucking amazing ring worker, top-notch ring worker. So I don't know. I'm looking more for the complete picture, but it's nonetheless it's a very, very good pick.
There's definitely an improvement in presentation, right? You're talking about someone who their presentation now versus their presentation at the start of the year very different, but maybe the actual improvement was more just that their skills were a bit more hidden or behind a veil. Wild Angels, how do you shortlist most improved this year as all the young big stage talent have really stepped up to the next level? Yeah, my shortlist for this one was massive. I want to run through a few names that I've got down. I had Harley Cameron, as Jamie App said, I think went from someone who I considered almost unwatchable near the start of the year to someone who was putting on stuff that was absolutely delightful. I wrote down Sol Ruka. I think Sol Ruka, early in the year had some very impressive stuff, but has really been putting the whole package together. The in-ring has improved, the character work has improved, the confidence has improved. I think all round that's been really good. I think that it has been a bit of a revelation, like we were talking about for Kaiser with Bo Dallas. I think that if you think about Bo 12 months ago, who was he versus now? I know that there's a lot of circumstances around that character-wise, but that's a big jump. But for me, and I said it, I had to say it, the most improved of the year, if I think about the last 12 months, someone who I actively didn't want to watch to someone who is doing consistently good work, it's Nia.
Chris Jericho. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, good. Nice work, Todd. I'm trying to put words. Yeah, I actively didn't want to see Nia at the start of the year. I think she's doing amazing work now. That's my pick.
See, I might have agreed with you until War Games.
Yeah.
Yeah, War Games.
War Games wasn't good.
It was bad.
Pretty bad.
And until when, like, as soon as I think of War Games, I think, well, she was fucking shocking in that.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, we should move on and come to a consensus because Australia's most improved is just around the corner. I actually kind of like Harley Cameron. I think that's a very good call.
Are we happy with Harley Cameron? Because I think that's a great answer.
Like, I'll go with it. I'm still very shaky on her in-ring work. I think her character is great. I think her promos are great. Her ideas are great. The whole Harleygram, that whole great. I think a lot of that is masking the greenness in ring. Still.
I agree, but I also think if you're talking about level of improvement,
it's
hard.
Yeah, I think if you look
but
back
if you
the start,
if you say like, but if you're going to say like level of improvement, look at Anna Jay. If you're going to think of level of improvement, like from when she went to Japan to when she came back, her level of improvement like skyrocketed.
That's a really good pick, actually. Look,
I think my one counterpoint to that would be her promos still haven't improved to the same level as like a Harley Cameron's.
Yeah, I get it. But also, Harley Cameron thinks that the big banana is in Queensland when it's in Coffs Harbour. So I mean,
she knows we're banana benders. That's what's important.
But,
my camera is not liking us tonight.
It's not liking you. Every time you make a silly comment, this happens to you.
Yeah, it's very true. Look, it seems like we've got majority for Harley Cameron as our International of the Year. I'm going to lock it in so that we can move on to the Australian most improved of the year.
Can you do me a favour, Lachlan?
Yeah.
When you do lock these in, can you please write them next to the names, the categories? Because one of us has to make graphics.
I will open a third document. Let's do it.
Right. You could put it just on the awards thing.
I don't have the awards thing open, Todd.
Oh,
I've got my nominations. I've got one that I'm
Well, don't look at me like that.
How did you know? All right, while I get my camera fixed, Jamie, who do you think is the Australian most improved of the year?
For my most improved Australian, I went with Aaron Jake. I think over the last 6-8 months, he has, like we've said before, put everything together. He's finally got the promo down, the character work, and his in-ring has always been quite solid, but I think he's really stepped it up since sort of mid-year.
Jeff?
You're asking me, right? Sorry,
Jeff!
hear that. Jeff, thank you. Yeah, I actually think my most improved this year is Aisha. She's really always had an excellent promo, but her in-ring work over the last 12 or so months has just really skyrocketed. A couple of trips to America have helped.
It really helped.
Getting really, really good training, but again, now her in-ring work has caught up with her promo, and she's scintillating. She's a must-watch act for me.
Yeah, that's a great call. Todd?
Dean Brady.
Yeah.
As someone who is like, he massively had to step out of a shadow of someone that he never saw the shadow coming. And in the space of a couple of months, like I think he was like one of the main events of their last shows with Matt Hayter. He's pretty much in line of being one of their biggest heels at the moment, and very much holding his own, if not excelling in promos and those big matches, like being able to pull off those big matches. So that's why, because you could say Aisha, but Aisha's sort of been she's been had runs with titles, and she's been made the focus of promotions in the past with PCW
to Dean
and
Brady of the Millennials.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. But you know what I mean. It's like that's why I see the improvement in Dean, just especially over this last year, coming out of especially that feud with Delta. That feud with Delta was great, and those last couple of matches that they had were great. So that's why I say that Dean Brady is my most improved for this year.
I don't disagree. I think that there is a lot to be said for Dean Brady last year and the year before as well. If you look at Brady LTD, if you look at, I think he got the Emerald Crown towards the end of last year, right? So it's been coming for a little while, but it's definitely a good pick. I've said Mr. Cliff. Now, Mr. Cliff is someone who I think has work to go, right? Let's be really clear here. This is not someone who is now nailing it. But I think if you look at the Mr. Cliff of 2023, who, and I'm sure he will agree, was extremely green, very fresh, getting a character out there, compared to now where he's, doing the Goldberg bit on a losing streak and making it look believable that streak might end, and then it never does. I'm really impressed by his work over the past 12 months and how far it's come.
That's a really good call. There's one other person I want to mention, and I don't know if she listens to the show. She's a young wrestler and it's quite new, but Elaine Hope has come on an incredible amount in a short space of time, because I saw her in a Battle Royal at a Renegade show midway through last year, and she had to be carried a hell of a lot. But then she really lifted her game and played very, very well, and made a statement on the 6 women fight at OPW earlier this year. I'm sure she was making up numbers, but she did impress in that effort, and I think that shows real signs of improvement. So good on you, Elaine. Really, really good to see someone young, and I just thought I'd shout her out.
A lot of really good nominees there. Is there anyone that wasn't your suggestion that we want to push forward? I really like the Aaron Jake call, and I like the Dean Brady call as well. That they would be 2 that I would be interested in seeing win it.
See, when I saw this category, for me, Dean was like a walk-up start. There was no one else I really thought of aside from, because I can see Dean now as a main event guy, where last year I could not see that. I just couldn't. He was mid-card guy, and that was it.
I'm happy to see Dean Brady.
Yeah.
Let's lock in our Australian most improved of the year, Dean Brady. All right, now that we've gotten some nice awards out of the way, I think it might be time for us to get a little more chicken salad with this, yeah? A little more rowdy, a little more rambunctious. We do have... Well, yeah, we've got an award. This is our one honorary award that is named for a great in the field. Mr. Phillip Brooks himself is the namesake of our annual CM Punk Loudmouth of the Year award. So we are looking for somebody who has absolutely gone to town saying things that maybe they shouldn't have. Jamie, is there anyone that springs to mind in your head as far as people who should have just shut up?
Anyone that says my name is fired, I'm just saying.
I didn't even have this one on my list, so now I'm like almost been out of my butt.
That's all right. Well, we can move on and come back to you if you think.
Yeah, come back to me on that one.
Jeff, who's your CM Punk Loudmouth of the Year?
let me just ascertain one thing. Jamie, you're in Sydney. You're not in Melbourne, aren't you? You're up in Sydney.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Great. Tony Khan. It's Tony Khan. He just shut his mouth off a fucking ridiculous amount, both at press conferences and on social media. And it's just like, I think the fatigue with AEW is partly a fatigue with Tony Khan shooting his mouth off. And I kind of wish he hadn't, because if he just concentrates on producing the show, not necessarily booking the show, they've got a great product.
Yeah. He was the obvious pick for the year. Todd, who do you have?
If I was going to say anyone, I'd say Uncle Dave.
A classic.
It's got to be Uncle Dave. Uncle Dave with, like, pronouncing that one of the Wild Samoans had died when he hadn't died yet. From like picking up the photo of The Rock and Hunter from like a Raw 5 years ago and saying that this has been planned for WrestleMania this year. It was like he had a couple of real good clangers through the year when it came to like reporting. So for me, just Dave, shut up.
Yeah.
And also, what was the one this week? Like last week, I think he said that if Tony Khan was in charge of WCW, he would have saved it from being closed down.
Yeah, that's right.
That was right.
Yeah, that was another one.
I feel like every year a couple of those names keep coming up, so I wanted to dig and find someone that I felt like I could rightfully nominate who wasn't a classic nominee for this award. And the name I came up with was Dwayne Johnson for his performance in WrestleMania 40 WrestleMania XL Behind the Curtain, where he decided to take credit for basically every decision that was made in the lead up to the Cody Rhodes winning WrestleMania main event. Andy Forzaria saying Camille is going to lose her job over one tweet and it's happening in slow motion. Very interesting.
But is that her fault, or is that just like her being accurate?
I also wonder if we could have a loudmouth of the previous year awards and give it to the recently re-debuted TNA Super... No, let's not go there. Yeah, look, I think some of the comments that The Rock made about the inner workings of WWE leading up to WrestleMania, that was classic CM Punk loudmouth moves. So that's something I wanted to shout out there.
He did go a little bit Hoganish, didn't he?
He did.
A little.
Yeah, he went a little bit Hogan.
Don't pick on Hogan.
Jamie, anyone you want to shout out?
In recent weeks, I think Effie's done a great job of just talking too much and needing to just stop when you're trying to...
I don't know if that's a work, though.
I think looking at it now with the Cardona thing, it might be a work. But yeah, at the time, I was like, just Effie, shut up.
Yeah, shut up. You're being too honest. Shut up. Shut up.
Look, I think it's an interesting call. I love Effie, so when Effie doesn't shut up, I get a little kick out of it, rather than some of the other nominees we've got who I'm like, just shut your face. So that's why I'm leaning towards maybe the classics of TK or Dave.
I think Dave, because Dave will be up at 4 o'clock in the morning arguing. Yeah, Dave will be up at 4 o'clock in the morning American time arguing with people about AEW ratings.
That's Dave is the king of tweeting through it. This is well known.
All right, it's Dave. Let's you know.
It's got to be Uncle Dave.
No, because it looks like Lachlan and Jamie are starting to make a consensus faces. So I'm happy to go. Okay.
Great. Look, unless you want to say The Rock, in which case I'm happy to get one of mine through. But we need to move on, and the next one I've got written down is trying to get us back in the more positive direction. And this is the first of our 2025 predictions that we have coming through. And it's about who is going to have their year in 2025. We are looking for 2025 will be this person's year internationally. Jamie, who have you got?
Kyle Fletcher. If the Continental Classic and the most recent match with Will Ospreay haven't kind of cemented him as a main event level guy, I think 2025 will be that moment where he finally captures his first championship in AEW.
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. Jeff, who have you got?
Grayson Waller. His rate of improvement has been incredible. I think they're going to split, hopefully, A-Town down before Mania. And I think it's going to be Grayson's the Michaels, and poor Theory is kind of the the Janetti. But I think that Waller's going to have a huge 2025.
Wild
and
Angel.
He's like clearly a company guy too. Like he's getting out there doing all the promotion for Netflix and everything.
Oh yeah,
all over the world.
Wild Angel says that Bron Breakker will lose the IC strap at the Rumble and then challenge for the world title at SummerSlam. Big call there. Andy Forzaria, in shocking prediction, says Zarya will be a dominant NXT champ this time next year. Never would have picked that prediction. Todd, who do you have?
I think maybe on a smaller sort of case, Javon Evans will probably have a big 2025 because they're starting. They've been like cooking him slowly in NXT, and now this thing this week with Ethan, I think is the start of like giving him something to work towards that NXT championship. Like Obafemi is an easy call because if they debut him in WWE main, he's going to be a monster. So I just think that Javon Evans is a good call for NXT next year. Because he's like 5 years old, so he's still got heaps of years ahead of him.
Yeah. What I've got written down is Jacob Fatu. I think that as the Bloodline story keeps moving forward, I don't think we're going to see Fatu continue to be the right-hand man of Solo for an entire year. And as soon as he has the opportunity to have a breakout singles performance, I think Jacob Fatu is built to have 2025.
You see, I kind of dispute that because I think that Fatu was put straight in the main event spot, insofar as like he's already the main event of almost every show he's on, and I think that they're rolling out the red carpet for him already. They did that little thing with Bron Breakker about a month ago on Raw, where they kind of looked at each other and snarled at each other, and the crowd went apeshit. And as I said, it's one of those things that you don't know you want until it's on your TV, and then you go, yeah, no, stop, do this now, right now. So, yeah, I think he's already in that main event spot, mate.
Ryan in the chat saying, I'm saying Switchblade Jay White will have a massive year in 2025. That's
a good call too.
Yeah, my argument with Fatu is it's not saying who's going to have a better year this year. It's saying who's going to own the year. That's my argument for Fatu. But I'll actually read what this says written in my notes. Jacob Fatu, and then in brackets, unless somehow someone doesn't say Kyle Fletcher, then pick the obvious.
Have you guys seen? Have you guys seen somebody's photoshopped him into Star Wars or Empire Strikes Back? Have you seen this?
No.
There's this, the scene where Leia tells Han that she loves him. They've photoshopped.
I love you, Solo.
Jacob. Yeah, and like it just cuts to Han just going, I know. And fuck, I was rolling when I saw it the other day. It just was so, because I'm like, because at first all you see is him doing this whole thing, but then there's a stormtrooper behind him. I'm like, what the fuck is a stormtrooper doing behind him? And then it's like cuts to Han. I'm like, oh my god.
Unreal.
It just, yeah. But like, I think Jamie's absolutely knocked it on the head there with Kyle Fletcher. I can't see anyone else having a potential of a bigger year than him, especially with Grand Slam coming up. It is the perfect opportunity to do it too.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where he wins his first championship. Obviously, it won't be the world title, but it could be the Continental title or the TNT title or something.
Or he could win the Ring of Honor title.
Yeah, I mean,
I said that more as a gag.
We gotta build Ring of Honor up first.
Right, let's talk more. Let's talk closer to home for who's going to have a big year in 2025. Jamie, 2025 in Australia will be the year of
Robbie Thorpe.
Oh,
I think Coliseum kind of put him on my map a bit more than he had been, and yeah, I think he's got everything to potentially go very high up in Melbourne and Australian wrestling.
That's a very hard one to look past. But I'm going to say Sam Yanis. Sam is really he's the Renegades champ, but the crowd want to see something out of him, and I think he's going to deliver in spades. He's going to be, spoken of the same way Lockie was when he first really turned heel and cemented on Crackers. I think that he's just going to have an incredible year. I think Sam is going to go from strength to strength and just be a really good shit heel champ.
Todd?
He's mine, and this probably would have been, I can't even remember who was mine last year, but he would be mine last year, and it'd be mine this year, until some promoter is smart enough to put the money and to put the promotional behind him. I'm going to keep saying it. It's Ben Braxton.
That was my second choice.
If some promoter actually has the balls to run with a guy that actually, if he doesn't, I haven't been close enough to him, but I'm pretty sure he probably smells of money. So go and make some fucking money with him. He looks like money. He works like money. I'm sure he smells like money. Go and make some fucking money with him. I don't care who it is. MCW, get him up there and do it. PWA have pretty much stalled on him a lot over the last thing. I know that Newey Pro have really run with him with the Newey Pro title on him and that's awesome. But yeah, this is a guy that is begging to be used. Somebody be smart enough to use him.
Yep, 100%. Ryan in the chat says 2025 will be the year of Ricky South. It feels like the last couple of years have been the year of Ricky South. Dude's been unbelievable. Yep. I think, was it 2022? I think was the year of Ricky South. Dude's been riding high. I got a couple of honourable mentions before I put my nomination in. One of them, because we just saw them recently just put on a stellar performance, and that's Jab. I think if Jab gets in front of more eyes with the work he's been doing, 2025, he'll have the world at his feet. Similarly, two people from, we're biased here towards Queensland wrestling, and I think a couple of the Brisbane people are about to have a lot more eyes on them. One of them is Eugenie, who, just secured the MCW women's title, so there's going to be a lot of fuel there for her to burn. And we've got, with the Grand Slam coming up and the night before that, the PWL Super Show with Renegades of Wrestling, where I believe there's less than 80 tickets available, so get your tickets for that now, February 14th. I think Rufio with the PWL Championship, as he just went down to Coliseum and showed what he can do, world's at Rufio's feet, I think. But
you mean Ricky Utomi's feet?
Sorry, Ricky Utomi. Thank you for the fix there. Ricky Utomi has the world to conquer. But the chat has already predicted who I was going to say. Andy Forzaria says Jarvis is about to be the top babyface in MCW, who might be the top heel in Renegades by the end of 2025. Wild Angel said Jarvis is one big moment away from claiming 2025 as his year. I think 2025 might just end with Jarvis as the MCW champion. There's a storyline there that's very possible. I think Jarvis just has such a strong claim to it.
But then, you can almost say last year was, a big year for him as well. With the whole thing with... Even though he didn't come out on top with the whole thing with
Delta Zarya.
Delta, thank you. I nearly said a shoot name because of the mix between the two names.
Yes.
I that's why I just think that you're right. He's going to have a big year in MCW. It's true.
This is
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is because it's I already see him having already being big. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Man, GB in the chat, just by the way, says, I think the new PWL tag champs, especially that JJ, will have a stellar 2025. I've heard they're locked in to branch out as soon as January next year. JJ Avery's got all the tools to blow up, I'll say that much.
I just wish he would blow up.
I think that
Sorry.
We've got 4 really, really worthy people that, you know...
I would happily swap over to Ben Braxton because that was one of my
I'm
coming
quite
later
happy
predictions for the year.
I'm quite happy to swap to Ben as well.
Let's make it Ben Braxton. It will be his year in Australia in 2025.
I don't I don't know if anyone will, but I think if they do give him a chance, like a PWA or a MCW, he will explode. Simple as that.
But, I mean, obviously, if they don't get the chance, they can't, right? And that's something that I think has been the case for Ben Braxton for a little while. He is totally willing to grab the ball and run with it. Someone just needs to pass it to him.
Man, and that's the thing. There are plenty of people in Australian wrestling in that position. It's a guy that I'm really reticent to mention because it's who I work with all the time, Mitch Ryder. Like,
God, as soon as one of those big companies goes, oh, why don't we have Mitch come down? It's over.
Yeah, and showcase him.
Yeah.
Then, but
there's all these guys and girls around the country that are ready. It's just give them that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that the showcase or the super show, should I say, is something where people go, holy shit, that Mitch Ryder is fucking good. I'll try not to ruin it for him. I'll just hang out by the barrier.
That's it. If Todd can get out of the way for 5 seconds.
My honourable mention, for what it's worth, was actually Solomon. I think Solomon's going to have a huge year next year.
Yeah, especially the aftermath of the whole thing with Damian Slater. I messaged him and saying, I love the way this is going. Because now Damian's going to be chasing him for a match for the next year.
Yeah.
Instead of the other way around. I love it. Love it.
We should try and keep the post-award give a bit shorter because we have people in the chat.
Yeah.
The show's already like almost 40 minutes.
Well, and Bloody DJ says, Mitch is insanely good every time I see him. I think, why is he still here? Because he should be huge. Absolutely agree. But this one's a little less of an award and a little more of, us eating some humble pie. We're going to admit what we were wrong about in 2024. Should I go first?
Sure.
Yeah, because I can't think of anything.
Yeah, that sounds like you. The people love this skull on an American flag bullshit. And I can keep insisting that I'm right because I feel like everything I'm saying is correct.
He's not a heel.
Every individual part that I'm saying is correct. But for the bit that I can't get, maybe I just don't understand what normal people think, right? Because normal people are seeing a skull with an American flag on it and a dude dressed as a villain from a TV show and going,
he's
good
not
guy! A heel. So apparently, Cody's presentation is not a heel presentation. I was wrong. Look, at least me.
Kevin Owens agrees with you.
Yeah, and so does The Undertaker. So, look, it's getting out there. The word's getting out. But clearly, people love this gimmick, right? And as much as I think it's a perfect heel gimmick, apparently it is a face gimmick and I'm wrong. So I'll wear that on the chin. Jamie, are you more humble than these gentlemen? Do you have something that you called for 2024 that you weren't right about?
I'm so humble. I had 2. I had a...
Wow.
I was adamant Charlie Evans was winning Coliseum, and nope, not even close. And then I had AEW was going to get back on track this year, and they got further off track, I think. That train got further and further off the tracks.
Yeah, that one left the station a little bit, didn't it? Can you admit to any incorrect predictions there, Jeff?
Okay. We need the violin music, guys.
Here we go.
Let's every now and then a man comes along and He says something and he regrets that. At this point, I have to declare LA Knight is a competent wrestler. I'm sorry, I know. I know. In fact, he's good. He's good. He's good.
Yeah.
No, he's good. He's good, and he's an entertaining wrestler. And I hope he puts it together a bit more. But in the next 12 to 18 months, he should be a big deal if everything's right.
Here we go. We got a couple in chat, so I can give Todd time to see if he can come up with anything. Andy Forzaria says, I was wrong about the WrestleMania main event. I thought it was so silly. Then I watched it a second time, and its silliness is why it was so gloriously good. We also had Wild Angel say, I was wrong that TNA was going to shut its doors after the sacking of Scott D'Amore and the AEW partnership falling through. That, you're not the only person who made that prediction there, Wild Angel. That didn't seem like a bad call at the time, but TNA, other than maybe one or two really recent decisions, had a pretty great year all around. So, hard to argue with that. Todd, do you have anything that you can admit to being wrong about?
I have to agree with Jamie, because I think we all thought that Charlie Evans was winning Coliseum this year. So I think that's something that's I pretty much thought that was going to happen. It really did. So that would be one. I'm trying to think of, because there was another one, but I just can't think of what it is at the moment, and I apologize for that. I know that there is one. It's in
The thing you're wrong about is that you can't remember what was wrong.
I think you boys telling me last week that I should send a photo to you when Chelsea Green loses. There's your photo, boys.
Yeah, this is not when you were right, mate. This is when you were wrong.
No, but you don't want to admit you were wrong about that.
Oh. No, I didn't. Who did I think was going to win it? I can't remember.
Lachlan was adamant she wasn't winning.
Yeah, Lachlan was.
I said, in saying that, my prediction was Big Fudge. So,
you fudged that one.
Either. Yeah. I actually predicted Jess losing in the second round. So, Andy Fazaria told us Jess was running the table. Wild Angel said it was obvious until Jess put her title up in the first round.
Yeah.
Look, let's move on. Now that we've been humble, we get to criticize other people, right? That's the way it works. Now we can talk some absolute smack. The worst match of the year. Jamie.
Oh, fuck.
What match did you have to sit through?
Surely this one has to be unanimous. Jericho versus Hook from AEW Dynasty was horrid. Absolutely atrocious.
It was bad.
Yeah, I feel sorry for Hook.
Yeah. Because Hook is normally really entertaining. And that match, I just so bored.
I actually remember I remember watching that, and my wife was sitting next to me, and there was one point where he gave Jericho a suplex, and I said to my wife, I said, when you ask me sometimes how people help each other when they're doing stuff like that? She goes, yeah, he didn't help at all then. That's a legitimate suplex because Jericho just dead-assed him.
That's the entire match, not just once.
No. Jericho had quite a little run there. Like at AAA, he had a terrible one as well.
Yeah, it was rough.
I'm going to warn you, Todd. I think I might steal yours. The Women's War Games match, it was shocking. It was a very, very bad match, which is strange because they're almost all really good wrestlers, because women's wrestling stepped up so much this year, both here and abroad. But, yeah, just a terrible match.
It was rough. Todd, was that yours stolen?
No, there was one that I'm trying to remember what the name of the tag team is. So, that and it's a guy that... Go on, mate.
I can jump in while you're trying to remember.
Please
and this
do.
is a match that it happened really early in the year. I mean, really early in the year. And it was the front runner for worst match of the year for me, and it never got beaten. And The match was bad, but even more it was disappointing. And that was Kota Ibushi versus Naomichi Marufuji. I don't know if you remember this. This was at Noah New Year, where Ibushi broke both his ankles, and it was Ibushi's big return, and it was just near unwatchable. It was uncomfortable to watch. It was so bad.
Yeah.
So, Ibushi and Marufuji for me.
I just want to counter this one. I was just seeing this one. Ryan William Boyle says Liv versus Rio, where Dom was in the cage. It wasn't a bad match. It was a bad finish.
It was a bad ending. Yeah, I was going to say the same.
It was a bad finish. It wasn't a bad match.
I'm, as bad as the women's War Games match was. I forgot that Ibushi match was in January, very early January. And if you remember the awards last year, someone was in the chat who was in the building. It was a worker. Can't remember who, so I apologise.
Was it James Cray, I believe?
It was James Cray, and James typed out exactly how bad it was. And
he's currently back over in Japan too. So if he's listening, hi James.
Hey James, we miss you, man. Come back for a chat.
Big shout out.
Yeah, I'm changing that to Bushi.
One of those ones where you wish they'd just thrown up the X after the injuries and just went, okay, that'll do.
Yeah. Todd, did you have one to put up as an honourable mention?
Yeah, it's a very random one, and I don't think anyone here probably would have watched it, but I watched it because it was it's my favourite tag team. FTR had a match against the Outrunners on a Collision, which was god awful, and it made me not like
talking about this. Yeah,
it made me not like the Outrunners anymore. Everyone was going off about them, and like the promos are great and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but if you have a bad match with FTR, then I cannot like you. So I couldn't tell you when it was, but it was terrible. You could tell.
It wasn't that long ago, I think.
I don't think it wasn't. Yeah, maybe, but it was like they were trying to drag them to stuff. Oh, Andy Fazario with a great call.
Classy Ali versus Mitch Waterman deserves an unfortunate mention, says Andy Fazario. But
I don't know. Classy tried to back that up to at Maple Leaf Pro, so.
And Maple Leaf has had some great matches. For him to do that there,
do you know how bad the match was? And this is I don't know if this is mean or not, but I think Classy Ali, people saw him, and he was that bad a worker that certain wrestlers decided that if they were going to work him at Maple Pro, they were going to put on a mask to do it. So, if you want to watch the match, you can tell who it is when you watch the match, but because I'm not going to out him.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Maple Leaf Pro, Classy Ali's match.
Oh, so it sounds like, though, we're locking in Ibushi versus Marufuji from Noah New Year as the unfortunate worst match of the year.
Yeah. See, I don't know. I don't know if that's a
start the year.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a bad match because they were just bad, or if it was a bad match because he was just injured and it should have been stopped. Do you know what I mean? Either way, it was a bad match.
There was ring rust going on. There was a lot going on, right? So no matter how you slice it, it was bad. Now, I just want to check because we've got one more award that is a bit of nonsense, and then after that, we are into our full of the year big hitters. So I'm just checking. Is there going to be a break coming up, Todd, or are we going to roll through this bad boy?
I have a break ready if you want to use one.
Wonderful. Well, before
it's up to you guys. I didn't know if people needed to use the toilet and come back late. So.
I'm fine to have a break.
Well, let's just get one out of the way before we start making this an absolute love fest after the break, yeah? And that is one that I think is a slam dunk, but there's some obvious counter arguments. So here we go. Biggest goose of the year. Jamie, who was the biggest goose of the year?
So this is the one where I had Effie down for the comments, but now, based on the last week, I'm so lost on whether this is a work or not. So I really don't have an option here.
Jeff, have you got an answer?
Yeah, it's Jericho for me.
It's Jericho for me.
just the way he was like, "Oh, I'm the learning tree is actually really, really good." No, you're just being a slightly funny heel, and it's fucked now. You've just played it too hard. You know, just
Ooh, Andy Fazaria with a great call on Logan Paul there. Todd, have you got a Goose of the Year mention?
Yeah, but mine's not international.
Is it?
So am I allowed,
We
am I allowed to do this?
I mean, I know who you're about to say.
The following monologue is brought to you by Todd Eastman, and the opinions are that of Todd Eastman, and they do not necessarily.
I think I've still got that. Hang on.
Yeah. Here it comes.
This is Views from the East. The opinions of Todd Eastman are his alone and do not necessarily reflect WRA Radio Australia.
All right, Todd, talk about him.
Okay. Fucking 5-star Flash.
I knew it.
You are the biggest fucking goose of the year, mate. I'm sorry you are. I'm done being nice with you. No, fuck him. Seriously.
No, I'm sorry for
anyone that fucking disagrees with him. Everyone that disagrees with him because he was fucking malpracticed fucking idiot trying to run his shows with 1,000 internationals. It would never come down because he can't sell a fucking ticket to his shows. Not only that, apparently training for his big comeback when, like, he was apparently posted something on his fucking wall this week about him doing squats. And he, like, the song was called A Storm coming on. Somebody, whoever sent it to me, said, mate, if that is a storm, not one person is going to get wet from that. Because they weren't dips. They weren't squats. They weren't fucking... I'm fucking done. Like,
Andy
fuck him. He's the biggest goose of the year.
Andy Fazaria in the chat says, but Todd, he promised no more cancellation.
He did. He ran one show and then fucking advertised 16 during the year.
So here's where we're at. Jeff and I both nominated Jericho, right?
Sorry.
Todd, as the authority of Wrestle Radio Australia, who's getting the award this year?
Oh, so you're not going to try and make it a consensus? Fine.
No consensus here. Jeff and I both had the same nomination. But you have the authority here. I'm going to land this one on you.
I think we know. So I don't even have to say it. It has to be. Like, you think about it, all around the world, in the world of wrestling, who's been a bigger goose this year than 5-star Flash?
Well, congratulations, 5-star Flash. You are making Chicken Salad's 2024 Goose of the Year. Boy, that's going to get us some clicks, huh? Surely.
Some good traction on socials.
No, it'll just be one of him calling me a fucking stooge. Which is fine.
Well, I was going to say, look, it would get traction on socials, but it seems like there aren't people buying tickets, so maybe there's not people who can share either. So 5-star Flash, biggest goose of the year for 2024. Look, we've got some more positive stuff coming up from Manager of the Year, Fed of the Year, Tag Team of the Year, Match of the Year, Wrestler of the Year, male and female. And then we're going to do some predictions for 2025. It's going to be a huge year in wrestling, so you need to make sure that you're staying up to date by following Wrestle Radio Australia. We're at Wrestle Radio AU or Wrestle Radio Australia on the socials. Follow us there. Make sure you're subscribed. We're going to a break, and we're going to come back with the real prestigious Making Chicken Salad Awards for 2024 right after this.
I better put on a black shirt.
Okay, so we got some highlights of Endgame, some behind the scenes of Endgame and stuff like that. Jeff, the last thing that's going to play is the Super Show ad, okay, mate?
Gotcha. Super Show.
Super Show last.
Yeah. Yes. So we'll be back in about 7.5 minutes, I think it is. So we'll see you then, guys.
smile alone. You're talking to yourself, inside a mountain. The end is all you know. And now you're on your own. Run away from the pain. Couldn't find a way to fix you. Nothing's changed. Gotta stay. There's a war inside your head with the chemicals. There's a war inside your head. There's a war couldn't find a way to fix it. Nothing's changed. Inside. Run away from the pain. Couldn't find a way to fix you. Nothing's changed. Gotta say. All these couldn't find a way to fix it. Nothing's changed. Inside. Run away from the pain. Couldn't find a way to fix you. Nothing's changed. Gotta say, there's a war inside your head with the chemicals.
This is the end, beautiful friend. This is the end, my only friend. The end of our elaborate plans. The end of everything that stands. The end, no safety or surprise. The end, I'll never look into your eyes again. Can you picture what we'll be? Slowly murderous and free, desperately in need of some stranger's hand in a desperate land.
Kick off your AEW Grand Slam weekend the right way with an unforgettable night of wrestling action at the iconic Eden's Hill Hotel in Brisbane on Friday, February the 14th, as Pro Wrestling League and Renegades of Wrestling present the Australian Wrestling Super Show. With an open door policy, expect the unexpected. You never know who might appear to shake things up. Whether you're a long-time fan or new to the Australian wrestling scene, this is the perfect way to start your weekend off with a bang. Get your tickets now from oztix.com.au and don't miss this incredible night of Australian wrestling action.
Welcome back to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia show, where we talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. And tonight, it's the Making Chicken Salad Awards 2024. Quit messing with it, people. I had it sorted. That's right. We are back with some of the year awards. We've got some top people from around the world and around the country. And we're going to start with one of the most underappreciated jobs there is. Manager of the Year internationally. Who was the best standing outside the ring yelling nonsense? Jamie, who's your pick for International Manager of the Year?
I went with Prince Nana. I thought he was so entertaining with Swerve this year.
Yeah, that was my pick as well. I'm not the biggest AEW fan, just because I find it too difficult to get into. Because of storylines, but everything they got Nana to do, was excellent. He was just fantastic. Never put a foot wrong, was there in promos, the dance is over, he's dived into being a baby face. And for someone who was pretty much a career heel, that's a good effort, and he just terrific. Nana's really stepped up.
Agreement coming here from Wild Angel, who says Prince Nana for sure. Todd?
Yeah, no, I don't know who else you would pick this year, to be honest with you. I don't know who else you would think is a close second. I
can tell you, Don Callis.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, Andy Fazarius says as well, when is Don ever ringside?
He doesn't have to be ringside.
Kind of what a manager does, bro.
Constantly on commentary, and that's about it.
He does commentary. He doesn't actually affect a match.
No, not at all. But I think the commentary adds to the presentation of his characters, which is largely the job of a manager, right?
Yeah, but I just don't see it. I don't see that as...
Here's how I'm going to put it. Who's probably the greatest manager of all time? Bobby the Brain Heenan. When he was managing, he was ringside, he was managing. When he was commentating, he was commentating. He didn't do both. Occasionally, he'd interact with Monsoon at ringside or Al Hayes at ringside, but and by talking to a thing, saying something like that's not fair to Flair or whatever, but he was simply focused on the match 9 times out of 10, and he made it better for his existence. And in my opinion, not at the same level, but Prince Nana is doing much the same. Sure, he's not interfering in matches because right now, he's a baby face, but he's still performing that same function for me.
Andy Forzaria says that Heyman deserves a mention for his 2 months immediately post-WrestleMania. There was some great stuff there with the new Bloodline. Fully agree. Heyman always does phenomenal work, but I just think so much of the year he was not a present force in the storylines that he was a part of, right? He was excellent with what he did, but it just, he was there for a couple of months total. Right? Whereas I really like what Don Callis does, but I think it's pretty obvious that Prince Nana is the manager of the year. There's just no questioning it. So congratulations for our International Manager of the Year, Prince Nana. Now, let's talk about within Australia. Jamie, who have you got?
So I had 2 options here. It was Jimmy C or this guy down here, Todd Eastman, and I went with Todd just because he's here and I'm scared of Todd when I'm going to see him.
Great call.
I genuinely take myself out of the running just because I don't think it's fair. Yeah. And honestly, I don't think I've had that great a year, to be honest with you.
Well, I was just thinking, are there really that many managers in Australian wrestling? You were the only 2 I could think of.
I've got another name for you, if you don't mind me popping in now, and that is
Go on,
Stellan.
Mason.
She's done a great job and is an excellent presence with DNT. And I think that, you know, she pokes the beacon at the right time, and yet, you know, is also steps back and lets the guys shine. And I think she's doing an excellent job. And I reckon in the next few years, if they keep DNT together, she's really going to be part of it.
Yeah.
My thing sort of like against Jimmy C is that he's not like a solo manager.
Yep.
Like it's been him and Gouda.
Yeah.
He's with Gouda. They're like a team almost, like a management team, more than but there is a single. Like I don't mind Chloe St. James. I don't know if I would call her manager of the year, but everything I've seen her in Renegades, I've really liked because she's that.
Chloe's great call, actually, Todd.
That's a really good call.
So,
did you know this year? Sorry to interrupt. Did you know this year her charge Tyson Reed had a match with Matty Romano? Go figure.
What?
Only one?
Well, he was announced for a couple.
Todd, did you have a call there?
Like you're right, there aren't that many like managers in the country that go around working all the time with like one person. Mainly because that's just promotions don't like doing that a lot, which is annoying, but it is what it is. But yeah, I think that I think Chloe did really well this year. I think if Tyson gets pushed up further into the card, it'll stand out more. Of course, oh God, I can't believe I'm blitzing his name. Yes, Seb Walker was good as well.
Seb Walker was excellent. Seb was fantastic, actually. Didn't consider.
Oh yeah.
And I think also maybe like David Streamer as well, even though he's more wrestling than managerial. But the moments where he is in that manager role is fantastic.
Especially because of the storyline was a bit interesting. Look, I'm gonna read out what GV's got to say. Todd had a great year. He finished it by getting stunned by Big Boy and Christina Cade. He put his body on the line for his Golden Goose Rider. That's being a top manager. Every year I take this opportunity to shout out, like, the best manager ever gimmick is there. Todd, pretend you're not listening for a second. Like, if you want to look at a manager who knows how to bloody manage, you look at Todd Eastman, because that man does not turn off for a second once he is through. He just turned off then, but he's out. So seriously, he doesn't for a second drop that character. He is an absolute arse to everyone in the building. He's knocking hats off children's heads and just being a jerk, right? I think this year he has done less managing than he has historically. And I think that's largely because he wants the talent that he's working with to shine without pulling attention from them. And that's something that I think, to be a manager who not only inside the storyline is managing the person, but outside of that role genuinely is trying to help them reach their goals by going, no, the focus needs to be on you here. I think that's incredible. I think his facials in matches are untouchable. His, promos are off the charts. I think if he was in the running, it would be Todd. So I want to get that out.
He'd tell you, Lachlan, you've already got the fucking job. Let's just move on.
So with that out of the way,
to paraphrase Todd, you've already got the fucking job. Let's just move on.
All right. Now that we've got that out of the way, I think Benjamin Rosenthal, who really pillared, put a strong foundation in the old guard, who became really foundational for RCW this entire year. And I think that that's important to recognize. I also had down Jimmy C and Richard Gouda as someone to mention, but I think that for me, Benjamin did the managing job the best out of anyone that I would consider. I think Seb Walker did a good job, but I think that for me, Rosenthal defined that role.
Yeah. No, I would agree. Give it another year. I think give it another year, and if like Chloe and Tyson are solidly booked, I think she will push for that because I think she does a really good job in that role, in staying in gimmick as well, which is good, which is hard to do sometimes.
I'm happy to go with Ben Rosenthal. Actually, I think that's a very good.
Yeah, congratulations, Aussie Manager of the Year, Ben Rosenthal there. Let's move on and start with some big hitting awards, right? We're going to talk Fed of the Year here because this is a big award, and after this we start getting into individual tag teams and people and matches. So this is starting the really big hitters here. Federation of the Year internationally, the best wrestling company. Jamie.
So since I don't watch WWE, I couldn't really comment on them, but I really enjoyed New Japan from the G1 on. I think they've had a phenomenal last half of the year, so they were my pick.
Yeah,
I do watch WWE, and I think all-round storylines definitely have been exceptional, and they're really kicking into a gear in ring. They've got some of the best workers, including my perennial favourite, Gunther. So I think that, for me, it's WWE this year.
Todd?
Yeah. I don't know how you can, actually try and argue. Aside from the fact, the one thing you can always say about AEW, and the thing we've always been able to say about AEW from the start, is that their pay-per-views deliver good matches.
Yep. The quality of the work in AEW is untouchable.
They have that down.
Yes.
But for an all-around product, they're not touching WWE at the moment. No one's touching WWE at the moment.
Yeah, and I totally understand, Jamie is not in that space. There was no question for me that WWE had my vote, just in terms of to see a company that big really get in line with more of what wrestling fans wanted to see without betraying the WWE audience, I think was amazing. The fact that right now we're seeing Kevin Owens carrying around the Winged Eagle Heavyweight Championship is imagine if you'd said to someone in 2010 that Kevin Steen was going to be holding the Winged Eagle on WWE television. Insanity. I think that the stuff they've been doing is so entertaining across the board for a company the size that it is. That's incredible. So WWE, Fed of the Year, let's hope that they don't shoot themselves in the foot, which they are very, very good at doing. Let's move on then and talk about within our little nation. Jamie, what was your Australian Fed of the Year?
I think this is probably a bit of a sleeper pick, but I think EPW has had a fantastic year. Their storylines that have carried through the year all culminated in their most recent show. I think that's my pick.
Great pick, especially when you consider the weekend they had in February. Right? Yep. They put on the Super Show. Jeff?
Yeah. For mine, yes, EPW, absolutely an honourable mention for me. I think they really, really put great show out after great show out, giving you a complete picture of what Australian wrestling is and what's great about it. But it's got to be MCW because they're clearly working with Slam. They've worked with PWA a fair bit. There's been crossover almost all through Melbourne. And I think that they've just had a fantastic year storyline-wise, in-ring-wise. Yeah, just brilliant. And also an honourable mention to Renegades because as a very, very, very young federation, they're coming leaps and bounds. Their stories are great. They had Kenta. They had Kenta.
Insane.
And that's just fucking amazing, as well as some great local people and highlighting the next generation. So well done to those guys. But yeah, it's got to be MCW for me.
Wild Angel says, I agree with Jamie, EPW. PWL a sleeper yet again amongst Aussie wrestling. Andy Forzaria says EPW is the pick from the Super Show through the TMDK feud to Reawakening, which was uploaded last night. Ding! There are the shows. There's other shows I've been most excited to watch this year. Todd?
It's like, I'm sorry, but it's MCW. It is. From, like, they've got the storylines, they've got the production, they've got the crowds. Like,
there was only one thing. Sorry,
like,
mate, there was only one thing missing from MCW this year. The clowns.
What's that?
We needed more clowns, more every week.
But like everyone's point, I noticed everyone in there, they're putting forward their arguments for EPW. We're talking about the Super Show. The Super Show only happened because WWE was in Perth.
Yep.
So that show only happened because of that. So it's not
And
like
I might
EPW going, okay, at the start of the year we're going to have a Super Show, and that's what drew everybody. No, and that's not like putting anything down on like EPW, because they have had an amazing year all through, like the storylines and everything like that. Hats off to them, and I think they are a very high second to MCW. But I really don't think you have any real basis of a real argument that MCW aren't the premier promotion of the year. I just don't.
Andy Forzaria said MCW Vendetta was the most frustrating show I've ever been to live. It ruled out MCW for me.
Well, that's for you then, bro. But like the people that were standing room only in every show, they tend to argue with you.
Yeah, I think if you look at their drawing power, they're easily at the top. The only reason I didn't pick MCW was like some of their booking decisions are a little bit too on that WWE tangent for me, and that's not my style of wrestling that I enjoy. So that's why they were below EPW for me.
Perfectly understandable, mate.
But I think notably the one thing I have noticed, like none of us are talking about PWA this year, and that's a real shift for them.
Yeah,
so
I was actually going to mention that it's like PWA fell off this year, and I don't know what it was. I think there was
They've
some
had really high
great
highs
stuff
and
in
really
there.
low lows.
The highs have been incredible, but then there's been a lot of holding patterns, it feels like. I wanted to mention Slam.
I just want to quickly add that the Super Show would not have happened without MCW as well. Their fingerprints were all over that Super Show. So while full credit to EPW, I just want to state that it was very much a collegiate effort between the two companies.
I think that the rise of Slam Pro Wrestling has been a great story in 2024. And they have gone from... Yeah, and Andy Forzaria is exactly right. If we're talking about drawing power, Slam deserve a shout-out. And Tim Wilkes says PWA are probably 5 or 6 for me. Slam have just gone from... last year... At the start of last year, the start of 2023... I did not know Slam existed. To them literally being one of the biggest drawing companies in the country and putting on great matches with homegrown talent who are growing leaps and bounds. For me,
here's the thing though,
Slam, even though I think MCW is a better product.
Like when you talk about Slam, right, and that show that drew, was it 2,700?
Something like that.
Yeah. What was the draw to that show?
A cage.
There wasn't really a story. Wasn't really like any. It was a cage and the strength of their brand. There was no real.
There was no, Todd. There was a story. There was a very strong story. There really was. Dan Archer.
I agree, Jeff, but I love Dan Archer's work. He was incredible working up to that match and deservedly, right, in that main event spot. But I don't think 2,700 people bought a ticket to see Dan Archer. I think 2,700 people bought a ticket because Slam Pro Wrestling made themselves a name in that area, and they got a great venue and did a great job advertising, right? They're my pick. Yeah. They're my pick, but I do agree that MCW overall, I think, was the better product.
That announcement of
all around.
Slam at the AIS was the draw, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that if that's what Slam is doing in really their second year of running at full power, compared to these companies that... How long's MCW been around? 20 years?
Yeah.
I know EPW...
21.
Yeah, EPW just had Reawakening, what was it? 26?
23.
Yeah, right? 23?
23.
Was it only 20? But
Yeah, trust me, I've been talking about it all last week.
That makes sense. So was I. I'm losing my mind over here. For it to be running that high in year 2, unbelievable. GV says, I'd love to see PWL to reach the Fed of the Year for 2025, but I feel running only 3 to 4 shows a year really doesn't help to progress storylines, and because that doesn't get viewed as much as a whole. I also think that it took them until right at the end of the year to get a really, really excellent commentator on board, so that might have something to do with it, and 2025 will really be pushing.
Yeah, it's the sad thing about Pro League is it's never really going to get a huge push from any of us here on the show, because half of us here work for them.
Yep.
So it's not really ethical for me to be able to go, I think Pro Wrestling League's had the best year this year, because it would be me just not being unbiased.
As an outsider, I would say Pro Wrestling League have had a great year. And I'm hoping that February acts like EPW, and it's that injection of adrenaline at the start of the year to kick off the year.
I'm just going to slightly change the topic and mention Mayhem Pro as well. They are doing some riveting stuff down there, and a really, really good show featuring a lot of young talent, and some of those guys are starting to stand out, and it's great to see.
So I see Mayhem Pro. I see Mayhem Pro as MCW's NXT.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with that. What a great position to be in.
No,
and
that's what I feel. That's what I feel that Wide Bay is for Pro League. I feel like Wide Bay is Pro League's NXT.
You can feel that way, Todd. But what I'm saying is, as a federation, as a package, they're doing great work.
Yep. Look, let's mention Slam, EPW, Renegades, PWA, PWL, Mayhem Pro. All got to mention here. We love
RC Dub.
Riot City had an excellent year.
Right? Brilliant, yeah.
So many of these amazing companies, but we can only give out one award. So this year it is going to MCW. Congratulations. Let's move on and talk International Tag Team of the Year. I love me some tag team wrestling. I know Todd loves some tag team wrestling. It's a special favorite here on the show. Jamie, who do you think was Tag Team of the Year?
Did I make it obvious? TMDK. I feel they had a great year. They won a lot of titles. They lost a lot of titles, but they were awesome in all of them.
Yeah.
Who have you got?
It's really, really, really difficult to disagree with TMDK. Tag team wrestling right now is in a great deal of flux in America. And I think that TMDK just crushed it in Japan, holding simultaneously both the strong titles and the world titles. So just a fantastic job. And Shane and Mikey, they're just workhorses. Everything they're in is so entertaining. So yeah, for me it's TMDK as well.
Todd?
Yeah. I mean, there are arguments with Bianca and Jade. There are arguments with a few, but I think overall, when you count in how much they work, TMDK has to be the call. Yeah. Because TMDK have probably had more matches than most of those teams that were in the top 10 of the PWI 100 tag teams this year. Yeah. I think they've probably had the most matches, and the most matches that were good. So, yeah, I think that's an easy. Yeah, I think that's an easy call.
I'm going to disagree, but that's because I'm a contrarian, and I think the answer is Crazy Star. Like, and I know that that's because I am who I am. But I think that May and Suzu just did such excellent work. Look, the whole of Neo Genesis as a stable this year put on incredible stuff, but Crazy Star in particular as a subgroup of that as a tag team, even working in trios within Neo Genesis stood out, right? Like you could see the trio, but then you could see the tag team within it really pushing through and holding it together. I think that everything that Crazy Star did this year was worth watching, which is unreal because they were working just about weekly. But I'm not going to fight TMDK.
I'm not going to lie, I understood maybe half of what you said then. So,
Lachlan, I understood almost all of what you said, and you know what? You swung me around, and I agree with me. TMDK is the best tag team.
Great. Well, it's a good thing I'm wearing the shirt then, because that makes it unanimous. TMDK, the International Tag Team of the Year. But let's get a little bit closer to home, shall we? Jamie, Australian Tag Team of the Year. Who have you got?
These guys are always right near the top of my list. I went with the Velocities. They traveled the globe again, crushed it everywhere they went, and they finally.
How much did they work? How much did they work in Australia though?
They worked not a lot as a tag team.
That's what I was going to say. I think that the strength of the Velocities this year wasn't as a tag team, which is so strange.
They worked a lot of Slam shows as a tag team. They were Slam tag champions at the start of the year. That's true. And then they had the split, and then they went off and worked New Japan.
Yep. Jeff?
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with Jamie. I think as well it is the Velocities. They're both so good and so captivating, and their feud could have been horrible, but it was riveting. I would have gone with the Parade, but they were not around, like not visible anywhere for a while there. So and for very good reason. So yeah, I'm gonna agree with you and go with the Velocities.
Todd?
Like, I understand what you're saying, but I just don't think that, like, you talk about the Pariah, like, Velocities worked less in Australia than what the Pariah did this year.
Oh, they worked about the same.
Yeah, about the same.
One form of
There were Slam champs, Newy champs.
And
also Pariah worked over in, they worked in New Horizons, they worked over in Riot City. I think they worked in. They worked up here in Queensland at UPW. They did the World Series Wrestling tours. That's just all this year. So I think
I'm not arguing against
MCW. No.
To win.
But I'm just saying, like, as a team, they've probably worked more this year than what the Velocities have in the country. I'll give one that is a. I know it's a local call, but it is like Culture. I think had a great year this year.
Didn't they ever?
Every tag team title pretty much, except for the Pro League one, which was only just crowned, and they were in another match on that card, so they had no real chance to win that. But I think that they've had a strong year as well. But I just think it's still the Pariah. The Pariah had the better year.
Can I throw one more name out there just into the mix?
Yes.
Jake and Pierce. I think Aaron Jake and Belle Pierce shot to the top of PWA this year on the back of hard
what about
work and great performances.
What about D&T as well?
D&T were great this year.
Hard to deny.
Like...
Yeah, D&T were really good.
And D&T came from nowhere as well. Like that.
Yeah.
Suddenly, D&T, top of the game.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking...
It's so hard because you almost want to hold D&T back because, like, okay, they worked EPW. Whereas when we talk about Pariah, we're like, okay, they worked Slam, they worked here, they worked there, they worked there, they worked there. And I don't know if that's a fair judgment.
I don't...
Sure, they worked that entire side of the country.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is an entire side of a country.
The other point to remember is that D&T were in every, I think it was almost every schwa show as well, which aren't as well exposed as EPW. So, last year after we awarded it to, I can't remember who we awarded it
Pariah.
to. Actually, the Pariah. I actually piped up and said, we're forgetting about the Untouchables. So I'd really like to see D&T get this, because I think the three of them are a complete package, as I mentioned earlier.
They work food as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so it's
Okay, well,
not even just like one company.
I'm happy to
I
go
would-
with D&T.
Yeah, I think it's an outsider. I think it's an outsider call, but it's like in Murdoch and Jarvis too. There have been some really good tag teams this year. We're just not really. I don't know if we're focusing on the two teams because they're the two teams that are the most visible, or have the highest profile, which is like Velocities and Pariah. They have the highest profile. When you think of tag teams in Australia, normally they're the first two that come to your mind at the moment.
Yeah.
Whereas if
I
you
guess
dig a
could
little
even say-
deeper,
You could say the Dropouts too. They've had a phenomenal year.
Yeah, they have.
yeah, they've come along too. They've come along too.
Yeah.
I think if we're talking next year's awards, maybe the Dropouts are.
Yeah, I think
We're talking about them a bit more. But yeah, I don't know. But like for me, it's probably a toss up between D&T and Pariah. Like because I think the Velocities worked more apart, except for when they hit the New Japan thing, and like this is the Australian, it's not the international award.
I'm happy to give it to D&T. I think that's a great call, Todd. I really do.
Right now, I'm thinking of this through the perspective of, if you told me that I had to watch a random match and here are the tag teams that I could watch it from, I'd pick D&T. That'd be the one I would be most excited to watch a match of right now.
Okay, well, do we do it?
Are
Do
we
we?
happy
Do
with
we?
D&T?
Do we?
Yeah.
D&T, congratulations, our Australian Tag Team of the Year, D&T. That's a huge call. Very happy with that. Okay, we're into the big ones now. Obviously, we've just done tag teams. So we've got Match of the Year, Female of the Year, Male of the Year are the last three that we want to talk about. Do we want to do match and then singles, or do we want to do singles and then match? Up to you guys.
I think we do match first.
Let's call match of the year. International match of the year. Jamie, what was your match of the year?
A relatively recent one, Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher at AEW Full Gear. I was on the edge of my seat that entire match, and that finish was insane.
Beautiful match.
Hard to argue with. Great match. Jeff?
Mine is not so recent. In fact, it was January 4 this year. Bryan Danielson, Kazuchika Okada, Wrestle Kingdom was 26 minutes that felt like 5. Fucking brilliant. It's just what wrestling is. It made you believe everything.
That match flew by, didn't it?
Yeah.
Eastman?
Yeah, I probably have to agree with Jeff with that. It's probably the last great match Okada's had too.
Yeah.
And hard to argue with.
And the last absolute banger that they got out of Danielson's breaking body, sadly.
Andy Forzaria says Ospreay versus Danielson had me audibly yelping with their face off at the end. Wild Angel 2 says international match of the year, Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson. I think this year, your match of the year was probably either a Danielson match or an Ospreay match. Mine was Takeshita versus Ospreay at Revolution. I thought that match was
good call
unreal. I also want to shout out Danielson and Ospreay at Dynasty because I think that match was unbelievable. Because that's one that got said in the chat. So it really does come down to those two are the guys, right? Was it the Danielson match, or was it the Osprey match, or was it the Osprey Danielson match? Like, that's where we're at. It feels like Danielson Okada has the numbers in the room. Is that what we want to go with?
Yeah, I don't think, like, when I mentioned that match, I saw Jamie sort of nodding in agreement quite vociferously, and so I don't think you're going to die in a ditch if we choose Danielson Okada for our match of the year.
Yeah, and look, you can't go wrong with a Wrestle Kingdom match, right? Like, that was a belter, so let's call it our international match of the year here for Wrestle Radio Australia was Danielson versus Okada at Wrestle Kingdom. Andy Forzaria with an honourable mention to Stat versus Willow, easily the best women's match of the year. I am so blown away with how far Willow Nightingale came this year. Like, just so...
How did we not talk about her for Most Improved?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think she was very good.
Always pretty good.
Yeah.
Like
She kind of went from here to here.
Yeah. I got like a boy crush on her, so I can't really talk about it.
I agree. All right, let's talk about the Aussie side of it. Match of the year within Australia. Jamie?
I went with Adam Brooks versus Mustafa Ali at OPW. Not one I expected to be a high, like, two great guys, but I didn't expect that particular match to be high on my list. But when I watched it, I was like, okay, yeah, this is phenomenal, and showed why Brooksy is Brooksy.
I think everyone expected it to be good. I don't know that everyone expected it to be wild, which it was.
Yeah, because sometimes you see the internationals come down, they don't have their working boots on.
Mm.
Ali.
Whereas, like, Ali had his working boots on, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jeff, what have you got?
I've got a match because it made me a kid again. And that is Buddy Matthews versus Telex for the MCW title at Anniversary Night 1 this year. Because they got me. They wouldn't have had me, but then Rowan pokes his face in, doesn't he? Because Rowan never walks out from behind the curtain. He walked out from behind the curtain and they dramatically call the match off. And even upstairs in the VIP section, people are going, fuck, is everything all right? You know, up in that media section, you know, where they put us all, not VIP, so I apologise, but, you know, everyone's like murmuring, oh, is everything okay? You know, Rowan's down there, that never happens. And bang, they got me. And they got me really well. It was a great performance from all guys, and it was a well-booked match with a turn you probably would not have picked. There were nothing to foretell that turn. So, yeah, it was my favourite match.
Yeah, Wild Angel 2 in the chat with Hot Take. Tommy Knight versus Lena Cross at Coliseum made both look like top stars that could run a Fed's main feud. That match was great. I adore both of them. Like, Lena and Tommy, what more can you ask for? Todd?
I agree. Brooks and Ali was great. I think that Gino and Lockie in the cage was beautiful.
Yeah. How could I forget that?
Well, I know how, but...
Yeah. Yeah. What's that? Nothing.
But yeah, I just think because that's what wrestling is.
Yeah.
For me, it's storytelling. It's the arc, the whole arc of the story, not just in that one match, but over time.
Yeah.
That was years in the making.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that match. I thought it was great.
And it put Lockie in the stratosphere, like in Renegades. It absolutely put him in the stratosphere. So yeah, no.
This will come to us as a surprise to no one. I'm going to mention Paris De Silva versus Jude London at PWA Shoots and Ladders. I think you all knew that was my match of the year the second it got announced. So we don't have to litigate that too much, but I loved that match with all my heart. But
I think your match of the year depends on what style you like.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Like, because like Brooksy and Ali is very much a indie New Japan-y type match, which is why Jamie loved that.
It's a pro wrestling guerrilla match.
Yeah, exactly. And the cage match with Gino, and for me, that's an old school, like 80s feud that's come to a head. Yep. That's my jam. So that's why I love that match.
Yeah, I thought it was very happy with Gambino Hendricks as our match of the year.
Yeah. I'm happy with that.
Lock it in, Eddie. Congratulations, Gino Gambino and Lockie Hendricks, with the Making Chicken Salad 2024 Australian Match of the Year at Renegades of Wrestling. Let's talk individual superstars, and we're going to do the internationals first for both of these. So, we're going to start Female Wrestler of the Year. Overall, international, who do you have, Jamie?
Has to be Toni Storm. She has been on an absolute other level this year with the Timeless Tony gimmick, and now Rockstar Tony is just as hilarious.
Amnesia Tony?
Yeah. I'm 18, just signed to AEW Tony. It's freaking funny
It's so good.
Somebody posted something the other day saying that I think this is Timeless Toni Storm playing a role.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been cast as Rockstar Tony.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever
Which,
it
if that happens,
I
is
think
amazing.
Whatever the prestige of this bit is, I'm so excited to see it. Jeff, who have you got for Female Wrestler of the Year internationally?
I'm just going to shout out a couple of honourable mentions. Firstly, Io Shirai is one of the finest wrestlers on the fucking planet. She started at such a high base, and in ring gets better and better and better every time I see her. I mean, it helps that I've got a huge crush on Io Shirai, but
Who doesn't?
A fabulous worker and such a watchable presence. My second shout out is Liv Morgan.
Sorry to interrupt, Jeff. I had a crush on Hitakiri, okay? So let's acknowledge that this is nothing new.
Honestly, Liv Morgan is so entertaining and is becoming a complete package in ring as well. Like, really, really good. Absolutely fantastic. Chris Statlander had a year after a recovery from injury that was phenomenal. But absolutely, it's timeless. It's 18 years, just got a contract. It's Timeless Toni Storm playing young Toni Storm. It's got to be Toni Storm. What a fucking year.
There are a lot of honorable mentions this year for the women's. Like Io Sky and Bayley's match at WrestleMania was amazing.
So good.
Like Statlander. Statlander's match. Statlander carried Mercedes Moné to a really good match. I don't care what anyone says. I think Willow Nightingale has come along in leaps and bounds this year. The work that oh god, I keep calling her Ember Moon. The work that she has done in Athena in Ring of Honor is stellar.
She's the only good thing on Ring of Honor at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, they've got Jericho and Cardona in that Ring of Honor final battle, but Billy Starks and Athena are going to main event that show.
Yep.
Yeah.
As they should.
Yeah. So
imagine Billy's moment. She gets. Oh, sorry. Anyway.
Yeah, but Toni Storm's had the year.
Yep.
She just has, even though she's had a couple of months off.
But even in those months off, she was still doing awesome stuff.
And she was so entertaining.
Away from clips she was putting up.
She was so entertaining. I agree with you. And there is one honourable mention that has to be mentioned. The inaugural US Woman Champion, the amazing one, Chelsea Green. It's Chelsea's world. We're just guests.
You didn't say it, bro. You didn't say it right.
Jeff.
I can't. My voice. What have I been doing all night?
Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green popped up at Pub Trivia last night for me. Shout out to Chelsea Green. I have a dissenting opinion, gentlemen. I'm sorry to do this to you, because Toni Storm was absolutely on top of one company. But there was only one woman who was simultaneously main eventing in 2 US wrestling companies this year, and that was Jordynne Grace.
That's a good call too. Yeah, she had a good year. She had a great match with Delta at Super Show.
Great match with Delta.
PW. Yeah.
And she was on a WrestleBrania. So
when she was on WrestleBrania,
which you were all present
and she stunned me.
So it's
I've taken stunners from fucking women left, right, and center this year. It just dawned on me.
Look, as much as my votes for Jordynne Grace, I am I'm very willing to give this one the unanimous treatment and say just quickly, Wild Angel in the chat with a second honourable mention to Stephanie Vaquer, who
Stephanie and Julia have both been great.
Give me a second, because I'm trying to write in honourable mentions as well, and there's only so much space in a Google document. They can only hold so many gigabytes of text, right? Congratulations, Toni Storm, our female wrestler of the year internationally. Who's our male wrestler of the year internationally, Jamie?
I went with Will Ospreay, just like we sort of had the discussion in the match of the year. Pretty much any time he had a big-time pay-per-view style match, it was up there as a candidate for match of the year, so he has been great. And his promos have even been really solid this year.
Jeff?
Speaking of solid promos and all-round excellent work, for me, it's absolutely his year. It's Gunther. He held the Intercontinental title, dropped it in a phenomenal match with Sami Zayn, then seemed to go away a little bit for a month and come back and win the World Championship and King of the Ring. In a show that we didn't watch, but had a great match. And now they're turning him face and it's working. It's got to be Gunther. Gunther, every match he was in was phenomenal. Just the best.
Todd?
Yeah, you see, I was all on board for Bryan Danielson until Jeff just put that argument across. And, you've got to, I know that Gunther hasn't had the Dave Meltzer shining that Ospreay gets. Ospreay can walk out of his dressing room and Dave already starts that match at 4.
Yeah.
So, but
the other there is one more really important thing to say about Gunther. What he did the other day with Damian Priest, making sure that he was safe and making sure that the move, which could have been really, really risky, was safe, and Priest took the bump safe. There's a wrestler. There's a guy who's a great dance partner. That really for me.
For me, it's Bryan Danielson or it's Gunther, and I'd probably lean towards Gunther more.
Well, that puts us at 2v2 because my pick was Will Ospreay, and the reason that I landed on Ospreay is because he did it all without ever holding the main title. Right? He had a total over the last year of, I think, exactly 100 days as international champion. Right? And that's the only title he held. He held a mid-card title while consistently putting on match of the year candidates. And it felt right. Gunther, we were saying, he's got to be in the main event. He's got to lose that IC so that he can go to the main event. It never felt like Ospreay has needed that title because he's Ospreay and that's enough. And
that he's already held 1,000 titles.
He's held a bill, obviously, right? So,
he's already a made name, international.
Well and truly. But so was Danielson, and he held the world title.
Yeah.
Right? So, this is tricky.
I don't know. Look, I like Ospreay, and I think he's an amazing worker. You can't not say he's not an amazing worker. I think I have an almost Meltzer biased against him. When like I just like you talk about him so much, I don't want to fucking hear about him anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of that thing. Whereas I think that Gunther deserves his flowers this year.
And I'll say another thing in favor of Gunther is that in terms of all-around presentation, it feels like there is nothing that he's missing. Not for a second, right?
No, he knows how to sell.
Ospreay, you go, maybe the selling could be a bit more. The promos still, they're getting better, but they're not. Whereas, like with Ospreay, it's the in-ring is what we're talking about. Gunther's the package.
Yeah. See, I'm not a massive fan of the over choreographed stuff. And there are a lot of stuff I see where it's like, okay, that looks amazing, but it doesn't look like it could actually happen.
Yep.
In a fight. Where everything with Gunther, I'm like, yeah, he just fucking, if he wanted to do that to you, he could.
Yeah, I'm fine to switch to Gunther. I think
let's
the line about Goldberg, that sells it for me.
Oh yeah, that was pretty fantastic. I did not think Gunther could be funny while still being as intimidating as he is, right? And many said that, and yeah, all right, congratulations, male wrestler of the year internationally.
And Ginny had a baby this year, so give it to him just for having a gorgeous child.
Excellent work. All right, now it gets serious. Now it's
dun dun dun.
Jamie, female wrestler of the year on this continent. Australian Women's Wrestler of the Year, go.
See, Todd's argument against me last time ruined this. I had Lena Cross, but I think if you look at it on stuff they've just done in Australia...
Lena's worked a lot in Australia, I think.
Yeah, but she hasn't won a lot of stuff in Australia.
I don't think you have to win to be Wrestler of the Year. This is a name that's on my list very strongly.
Okay. Well, yeah, I will put Lena up there. My next choice would have been Eugenie. I think she's had a great year this year.
I'll throw in an honourable mention for Eugenie there. Very well deserved.
I think it's got to be Erica Reid. Just in-ring improvement, variety of opponent, and also such a sympathetic babyface. Like, she's a babyface in both Mayhem and MC Dub, and she's just great. So watchable. Big fan of Erica.
Todd?
Yeah, it's Erica Reid, and I'll be taking no more questions at this time. No,
yeah,
it's like seriously, like she held the OPW Women's title, she held the MCW Women's title. She is the lead, the head babyface in Mayhem. Like, I know that JXT is there, but she's the main focal point of their storylines on Mayhem at the moment, and she's doing a great job, like, in that role. She did a great job putting Eugenie over for that MCW title, making Eugenie look like an absolute beast. Her selling is great. Her work is just great. Like, I think this has been an absolute, like, we talked about breakout years. If we're going to take breakout years, like, this has been a breakout year for Erica, even though she's been around for eons. This is the year that Erica finally got her flowers. So I just think that she's been the women's wrestler of the year for sure.
My document says, say Lena Cross so we have someone to talk about other than Erica. Because it's Erica Reid with the bullet. Right? Like, I think that we've got, the comment from Andy for Zaria is strong, easily Delta, despite it only being a 7-month body of work.
And his name's Andy Fazaria, so I mean...
Yeah, right? We had Wild Angel saying, gotta be Eugenie. We had Tim Wilkes saying Erica Reid. I think it's got to be Erica. It's too strong a case to deny. So our Women's Wrestler of the Year, Female Wrestler of the Year for Australia, Erica Reid. Who have we got for Male Wrestler of the Year for you, Jamie?
I went with Robbie Eagles. I think the heel turn against Tuckman and that whole Soul of PWA storyline was right up there and awesome for me. And every time he's gone over like EPW and other places around the country, he's Robbie Eagles. He's done awesome.
He's Robbie. Jeff?
I'm going to... there's an honourable mention, and that's Robbie Thorpe. Robbie has just been fantastic. You know, as part of Coliseum and also as a mainstay of MCW. And a really, really lovely sort of presence after the show. He'll occasionally pop out and say hi to people, and he's like, people just flock to him. He's got a real high it factor. But for me, the wrestler of the year is the aspirationalist, Lockie Hendricks. And the reason I'm saying that is because at the beginning, people weren't buying into the aspirationalist. It didn't quite work. But the partnership with Walker has really brought out the aspirationalist and how much of a complete, despisable fucking tar heel this guy is. And for that, to be that disliked and dive into it, not be cheeky and kind of give a smile and a wink to the camera. No, the aspirationalist is absolutely fantastic. A complete package and a really good wrestler now. But a very, very big honourable mention to another heel, and that is the example, Ricky South. Ricky, his matches have just been fantastic. So the Lockie Ricky thing, it as they say in the classic, it's a bee's dick. It's so close between the two of them because, you know, who's better? It's just been fantastic.
A couple of mentions in the chat. Tim Wilkes says Bobby Bishop, the workhorse of Aussie wrestling. Wild Angel says male wrestler of the year for me is Tommy Knight, with an honourable mention to Mick Moretti and Emin. We've had, you know, Andy Fazaria says Robbie versus Lena on the weekend was excellent. Robbie Eagles would be my pick too. Todd, who have you got?
I know this isn't one that it will probably get a lot of support, and that's okay because it's just how I think about wrestling and how I feel. I think the wrestler of the year for me has been Jarvis, because I think every role he's been put in, whether it's in an underneath role sort of thing in Renegades as part of the tag team, it's in MCW where he's sort of playing an underneath role, but he's playing it to the fact where there are not too many guys that walk out there that get the heat that Jarvis gets, and then in an instant be able to change that to where they start cheering him. Mm-hmm. And that is a hard thing. Not only that, you've got that side of it. His promos will get him heat. Well, and I guess when he actually starts cutting babyface promos, they're going to go over like gangbusters. I can just assume that will happen. But his in-ring work itself is great. He makes everyone who gets in there look good. He makes everyone look better when he's in there with them. And for me, that's what a wrestler of the year is. Tommy Knight has been great as well this year over in Wrestle Rampage. They had a great year as well. But I just think when I look at an overall picture of wrestling this year, I think Jarvis has probably had the best year without actually holding major titles.
Right. I could not separate mine. I've got two because I can't separate them. And the reason is that I picked them for such different reasons. So I'm going to start with somebody who I think we've talked about already and just had a year where they proved themselves as one of the best in the country. They held not heavyweight gold, but they held multiple championships and main evented multiple times in matches that had to be spoken about. That's Dean fucking Brady. That man, the look, watching him walk out with that face mask, with the chain, the old guard look, the build that boy has on him at the moment. My goodness. The promos are dripping with venom. He has gone from being a...
Where were you on Most Improved then? Where were you on that? Where was this?
Because I think he's always been good. And I've been backing it up to have here, mate. Dean Brady had a year that wrestlers dream of. So that's one. And then on the other side of things, right, in-ring is not all that there is to wrestling. And I'm going to get out ahead of it at the top that I don't think, if you're looking for an all-rounder, my pick is the number one guy of the year. But I think he had a year where you got to look at it and go, yeah, that was the year of that fella. And it was Jesse Lambert.
I knew you were going to say that.
That's a good call,
what
too.
A great year Jesse Lambert had, going from being a fun mid-card tag character to being the protagonist of one of the hottest promotions in the country. Right? EPW heavyweight champion who has beaten just about everyone there is. He's, overcome TMDK. He beat Slater. He beat Pitt. He beat Kingston. He beat King. Like, if you want to talk about a wrestler who had a incredible year and the entire time kept fans engaged and supporting him, Jesse Lambert.
And he did a WrestleMania this year. Just saying.
Yeah, he made the effort to come over to the East Coast and do a few runs along the East Coast as well with IWA, which is great.
And he killed it. He killed it.
He was on Wrestle Radio Australia just recently.
If we're going to talk people who...
I would love to agree with you, but I just don't want to have to answer the phone call from Slater if we did it. I don't want that phone call.
Great point.
I don't want that phone call.
One more name to
Phone on
mention.
silent.
One more name to mention from EPW is Lucas Fantasia. Just a tremendous breaking out of the tag team, beginning to, really establish himself. Got a great character, but really fun in ring, and the pop he got at his, like he just walked out at MCW and the whole crowd was going nuts. So big props to him. I don't think he's going to win, Wrestler of the Year, but really great year for Lucas, and you'll love to see it.
So how about this, right? We've brought 5 names. We've brought Eagles, Hendricks, Lambert, Brady, Jarvis. I want to go around, same order, pick one of those guys that you did not bring to the conversation. And one of them has to not get mentioned here, and that's going to knock them out. Right? Because this is down to the nitty-gritty. Jamie, so you picked Eagles, so tell me, Hendricks, Lambert, Brady, Jarvis.
I would pick Jesse Lambert.
Jeff, you picked Hendricks. Eagles, Lambert, Brady, Jarvis.
Jarvis.
Todd, you brought Jarvis. Eagles, Hendricks, Lambert, Brady.
Sorry, I just laughed because I'm like, I could really fuck Lachlan up here by just saying Eagles. Like I hate Lambert would have to be the call.
Yep. I've got to say Jarvis. Right? So I'm looking at it here. That leaves Lambert and Jarvis as our 2. Right? We had 2 people say, yeah, I agree with Lambert, and 2 people say, yeah, I agree with Jarvis. Does everyone think that's fair as a way to come to the final 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know how to pick between those 2.
And they were both on WrestleMania, just saying. Give it to Slex.
Let's give it to Slex. So look, I brought Lambert to the conversation. I think that he is someone who... I think Jarvis is going to have a huge 2025. Right? I think that's undeniable. I think if you want to look at 2024 in a nutshell, you go, here is January, and within these 12 months, who was the guy? I think the guy was Jesse Lambert.
He's right.
Yeah, he went from a mid-card comedy guy to the guy.
He's right.
Yep,
We've got to give the kiddies credit. He's right.
Andy Fazaria says, I'll tiebreak it. Lambert achieved much more.
Yeah, it's Jesse.
And Andy also says, and yet it feels like we're a year early on both these guys. There's so
I don't care who you pick, mate. I'm the one who makes the graphics, so you know. At the end of the day.
You know what? I know he's a chicken salad winner. Congratulations, and WrestleGrania veteran. Congratulations, Jesse Lambert. You are the male.
Todd, if you get a phone call, you can redirect it to the three of us because we landed on that decision. Jesse
Slats,
Lambert,
I apologise. I apologise.
And we would be remiss to not mention Lachlan's absolute favourite wrestler in the world, and the man who in 2025 is finally going to get a hold of you.
Was my third place, Edward Dusk. Yes,
yeah, Edward Dusk had a great year as well.
Great year.
Yeah, I think if Lambert and Brady hadn't had such incredible years, for me it would have been Dusk with a bullet. But I think those two both showed up and showed out in a way that had to be seen to be black.
And all of these males that have been mentioned and the females that were mentioned, they're all fantastic. If they're on shows near you, buy fucking ticket. Go and see them.
Yeah.
So all the others we mentioned, like everyone.
The fact that we argued so much about it should tell you how strong the Australian scene is at the moment.
And last year, if you remember, it was pretty much Ricky South or Tommy Nine.
Yeah.
And in the end, we just agreed it was Tommy's year. But this year, I'm quite happy that it's Jesse's year.
And again, the conversation being quick about Erica for Female of the Year wasn't to discount all of the incredible female talent that we've got in this country. Like got mentioned, Zarya was part of that conversation because we had 7 months of Delta in the country who put on that incredible match with Dean Brady, right? It's the fact that Erica Reid had the kind of year that is truly undeniable. One of the best wrestling years there's ever been. Right? So congratulations. There are our Australian Wrestlers of the Year, Erica Reid and Jesse Lambert. Now, before we wrap up, we've got a couple of nice things that we get to do. First off, we are each going to say something that we want to see in 2025 internationally and then within Australia. So let's kick it off. Jamie, international, what do you want to see in 2025?
I just want to see ROH given a little bit more love and care and returned back to its former glory, because that was what really got me into independent wrestling, and they've kind of been pushed aside.
That hurts me. It hurts me to even when somebody says Ring of Honor right now, I get bad feelings about it.
Yep.
I get upset
I'm hoping
when I know it's turned into AEW Dark.
Yep. I'm hoping this weekend at Hammerstein is a moment where they can go, oh, this is what Ring of Honor is supposed to be.
Yeah, except that the Jericho's on the fucking card.
Yeah, the card's not great, but there are a few matches in there where I'm like, this might be the thing where they go, oh, this is what ROH should be.
If I'd have told you back in the day, when we were really watching Ring of Honor vociferously, and it was fucking Davey Richards and Kyle O'Reilly in the main event, and I said to you, the main event next year is Chris Jericho and Matt Cardona for the Ring of Honor world title, what would you say?
I would have laughed at you and told you to piss off.
Would you say did WWE buy Ring of Honor?
Yep.
So
Jeff, what do you want to see in 2025 internationally?
I think it's almost undeniable that there are 5 words I would like to say. These 5 words will kind of answer that, and those 5 words are: I believe in Joe Hendry. I think he's going to wind up absolutely busting out, even bigger than he is now. I think that there will be almost certainly there will be a WrestleMania moment featuring Joe Hendry and the crowd, the loudest double clap you're going to hear, and he's just going to have an amazing year. I think
it's going to shatter windows.
Yeah, I think that's probably
that guitar riff hitting in a stadium would be nuts.
Yeah. So I think that's going to happen, and that's kind of my prediction for the year, because wrestling, not just in Australia but worldwide, is so good right now. Oh, and Chris Jericho will retire again, definitely next year. Definitely, I can see it. It's in the tea leaves. It's happening next year. I said this last year. Next year, I promise. Starting from now.
Todd, What do you want to see in international wrestling next year?
I want to see AEW right the ship. I want to be enthused in watching Dynamite again. Because at the moment it kind of feels like a chore that I have to do for the show. Like, I've got to watch it because we're going to talk about stuff that's happening, so I need to know what's going on. Instead of like going, I'm just going to go to YouTube and watch the highlights, and that'll do me for the show.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. I want to see them admit that they're having troubles, and then know that because what's the first thing you say about like drug addiction and alcohol addiction? The first step to improving is admitting you have a problem.
You've got a problem.
And like Tony never admits that there's a problem. There's a lot of stuff going. Unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes there now with like that the stuff that Nemeth and now what's the name's ex?
AJ Whitmer's ex-wife.
Thank you. Came out this week about it as well, and all seems to be like surrounding the legal team and how they're dealing. There's something going on, and they need to right the ship so they can get back to doing what they were doing really well 3 years ago.
What I've got written down is similar, Todd. I said I want to see AEW telling long-term stories up and down the card, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think a big part of the problem that we've had with AEW is the matches are good and we don't care. And in the spots that they have chosen to tell long-term stories, we've bought in. Even when we haven't loved the matches, Hangman Swerve was riveting, right? And that was a long-term story that they were telling. What's going on with, like, I don't know how much I love the Death Riders story, but clearly it's going somewhere. Toni Storm became far and away our female wrestler of the year off the back of telling a long-term story. But that can't just be at the top of the card, because that's not making us care about watching that whole show. When they have proper long-term storytelling across the entire card, that's when we'll be bought in again as wrestling fans. That's what I want to see from AEW in the new year. Now, that's what we want internationally. Let's talk about what we want to see. What are you hoping for 2025 within Australia, Jamie Apps?
I want to see culture all around the country more, the full trio, and ideally culminating in a match between culture and the Velocities with Matt Diamond. If we can get that match, I'll be happy and can go happily off into the sunset at the end of 2025.
I couldn't even type it properly. That just, yes. I want it too, Jamie. Yes. What a wonderful answer. Jeff, what do you want to see in Australia in 2025?
Yeah, I absolutely want to see that. That's a terrific answer. I also want to see this wonderful generation that we're seeing. So we've got like Jarvis, Lucas Fantasia, even to an extent Jesse Lambert, Solomon Blackwell, Frankie B, Aisha. We've got this terrific generation that's coming through now. Sorry, Lachlan?
JJ Avery.
JJ
said Ben Laxton.
Too many JJs. But all of these fantastic wrestlers, these great wrestlers who are young and enthusiastic and really, really enjoying themselves. I want to see a year where they all stay healthy and fit and have fun doing what they love to do, and also look after their mental health. I really, really want to see that. That's important. I've had a lot of struggles this year. This podcast has helped a lot. The boys know I've had struggles. I've openly discussed them. And thank you guys for that. I want to see a year where Jamie's Oz Wrestling cards goes from strength to strength, and I know you've announced some exciting things this week. I want to see a year where all shows are filled with wonderful punters having a great time. I want to see a year where we continue to love Aussie wrestling as much as we do now. And by fuck, do we love it now. And that's not just me. That's every single person in the chat. And most importantly, I want to see a year where Rosie doesn't derail the fuck out of this show.
That's not going to happen.
No, but I do.
I'm going to write it down. It's not going to happen.
I do want to see those things, and I also want to see a year where I continue getting excited. Eugenie and a lot of talent around this country. Just it's fantastic to watch. And I mean, I can't put it any other way except Rosie stopped derailing my fucking show. Well, Todd's show, our show, the show.
I'll grab a couple of the ones from the chat because I missed a couple of them. Andy Fazaria said, for the US, I really want to tell AEW commit to telling some good long-term stories again. I fully agree with you, obviously, there, Andy. And Wild Angel says, can I get a Survivor Series match? Survivor Series with an actual Survivor Series match. Tim Wilkes says internationally he wants to see GCW continue to improve. And in Australia, more Queenslanders working in other states, not just playing with themselves each week. Andy Fazaria said everything you just said about AEW, but for PWA. This year, the reduction in shows meant they only told half stories, and they seem to fast forward through key storyline beats. Jess Troy's title reign deserves so much better. Wild Angel says, I'd love to see Solomon Blackwell take the pit with him across the country to take on AJ Istria. The two have worked together before. That's mighty tempting. I might jump in with mine quickly. I put something that's connected to some stuff Jeff said, and specifically something Wild Angel said, seeing Damien says he wants to see Zoltan versus DJ Zaddy. We'll see how that would work. I said I want to see mainstays.
It's like having JJ Avery against Certified Puppy.
I want to see mainstays having to fight even harder for their spot. Because at Reawakening this year, Davis Storm had a great match on Go Time, the pre-show. And he spoke and posted about the fact that he's been doing it for 20-something years. He was
23.
at Awakening, right?
23 years, mate. It works out, the math.
I know, but I didn't want to say 23. I wanted to keep it nebulous. Because I want to see guys the quality of Davis Storm, who've been around forever, having to fight to stay on shows, because this next generation is getting so good that they can't deny them those main event spots, right? I love Marcus Pitt having the title, and I love that he's in there with guys like Kingston that have been there for a long time, but I love that the other guys in that main event are Jesse Lambert and King, Taylor King, who, yes, was an EPW champion, but it feels like it's his time. I want to keep seeing guys like Solomon Blackwell rise to the occasion to the point where someone like Davis Storm has to go, I'm on the pre-show, right? And I want people to challenge the Caveman Uggs of the world. I want people to challenge the Jessica Troys of the world, the Mick Morettis of the world. These are the names, the Slexes of the world, right? The who are we seeing at Riot City? Havoc, I love. I'm so glad he's getting his flowers, right? Young guys, make him fight for that spot. Make Mick Moretti fight for his place on the card, because those young wrestlers out there are good enough to do it. And we're seeing it happen in EPW, and we're going to see it happen more and more. And I want those young guys to make them fight for it.
Jamie, there was a PWA angle, a great angle many years ago with Generation Now, was it? With Ricky and with Jess Troy and with Waller, as he is now.
Yep.
Yeah, with Wahlberg and so many other great young talents. What we're seeing now is that's happening all over the country.
Yeah.
And it's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's not a gimmick anymore. It's just legitimately the next generation are ready for the spot.
Yeah.
Todd.
Well, after Jeff went off on his... Oh, no, sorry, that was Lachlan. Went off on a 20-minute diatribe.
Hey, we both went off.
I know we called this in 2025 I want to see. I'm going to change it to in 2025 I don't want to see. Okay, in 2025, I don't want to see Australian wrestling rest on their laurels. I don't want to see Australian wrestling go, you know what? That was a really fucking good year. We've fucking done it. We are. No. Push forward. Fucking engage. Keep pushing as hard as you can. Get as good as you can. Get it so that fucking everyone around the world knows who everyone here is. Not just your velocities, not just your natural classics, not just your Robbie Eagles, not just everyone. Everyone gets known because Australian independent wrestling is better than American independent wrestling. Hands down. Australian wrestling is better than British independent wrestling. Hands down. And I'll argue with anyone over this shit. I don't care. Because per capita, we have the best wrestlers and the best wrestling in the world. And it's about time, and we keep saying it year after year, but it's about time the world sees it. Not just New South Wales, not just Queensland, not just South Australia, not just Perth, not just Victoria, not just Queensland. All of us together. Working as hard as we can to be the best fucking nation in the world in professional wrestling. Because we have that here. We can be that here. We just have to concentrate. We just have to not rest on what we've done and fucking go hard next year. Go harder than we did this year. Make it so 2,700 Slam isn't a great number, an amazing number for them. Make it so that is where we're aiming for, everyone. In every state. Because we have the talent. We have the talent. It's just about getting that talent out so people can see how very fucking good we are.
You know what? I'm just going to piggyback off that for a second, Todd, because what a great rant. You remember when Matty Wahlberg was here tweeting hashtag Now We Conquer every day of the fucking week? Right? What happened? Because he went away and he conquered. He's over there. Right? So everyone who's still here, we're the ones that pick up the slack and we're the ones who keep pushing forward on that. Right? A fucking men, Todd. Great answer. No resting on our laurels. Bigger and better for 2025. And that includes us here at Wrestle Radio Australia. You don't want to miss it. Make sure you're subscribed. Head to your podcatcher of choice, whether it's, Podcast Addict or I don't even have it open. Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Hit subscribe. It's free. Get amongst it. While you're at it, follow us on social media at Wrestle Radio AU on all of those socials. Wrestle Radio Australia on Facebook. You can follow us individually. I am at Lachlan Albert. Todd is at Beast Eastman. Jamie is at Jamie Apps Media. Jeff, that says at Wrestle_Brainia. What's that?
It is a wrestling comedy panel trivia show of laugh proportions. We are coming to Adelaide. That's right. We're going to be in Arthur's Art Bar Art House in Adelaide. No, I'm stopping you.
Wow.
That's a lot
no
of
art
A's.
parks this week. I'm ploughing through. We're going to be there for Fringe on the 14th to the 17th of March next year. And tomorrow, our Melbourne Comedy Festival tickets go on sale.
Hooray! Jamie, I heard Jeff mention Oz Wrestling cards before. I've seen this Pario Media thing floating around. Pario Magazine. Tell us, what are we getting amongst, mate?
So the new Pario magazine literally arrived today. Bunch of interviews, including Zeke Andino and Ricky Otomi coming up in January. And I sent the...
I was about to get who have they pinned, but then I realised.
And I sent the next batch of Australian wrestling cards off to the printer today, featuring these three gentlemen.
What?
You heard it here first. We've been carded, baby.
Yep. So yeah, will be pre-orders next month, but keep an eye out for that. And other than that, just
Get
keep
amongst
following
it,
along.
you'll have to fight me for those pre-orders. I'm going to try and order all of them, so no one else
Yeah.
can have my stupid face. Look, if you want some merch from us, please go to Redbubble, search for Wrestle Radio Australia. The proceeds don't go to us; they go to Beyond Blue and Gotcha for Life, which are awesome charities that support mental health here in Australia. We've talked about how important that is. Please, over the holidays, take care of yourself. Take care of your mental health. If you want merch that's not of us, first of all, disappointed in you, get better taste. Second of all, head on over to kickout.com.au. Kickout merch has your favourite, at the moment, Queensland wrestlers, and they're beginning to branch out to folks from around the country. They make great quality merch that's all local, done for the wrestlers, by the wrestlers, so absolutely get amongst that. If you missed anything I said, go to WrestleRadioAustralia.com, get the links there. Merry Christmas to everyone who celebrates. Enjoy the end of the year. Todd, is there anything else we need to say?
Yeah, let me, because you missed the other things we have to do. Tickets for Pro Wrestling League with Renegades of Wrestling Australian Wrestling Super Show for the night before AEW Grand Slam are on sale now through Oztix. There are under, I think we mentioned before, there are under 80 seats left. So if you don't get those 80 seats, you're up in the Mez. If the Mez sells out, don't know what to tell you. The first match was announced this week. It is Renegades of Wrestling Women's Championship is on the line with Aisha defending against Lena Cross and Little Mars in a triple threat match. I hear there's some other things brewing that'll be great. Also, MCW Anniversary 15, Thornbury Theatre. Tickets are on sale now, mcwtix.com.au. And if you, the whole of last week, all we talked about was Reawakening 23, all of that good stuff. It's up on their Vimeo now. Go and check it out. I've got mine. I'm going to be checking it out this weekend. I cannot wait to watch it. So, yeah, I cannot wait to see that. I can't wait to see the pen match. I'm absolutely gagging to watch that match. If you want to watch Go Time, because we mentioned it before with David Storm being on the pre-show for that, that is on the YouTube channel now. So go and check the YouTube channel out for the EPW Go Time. You can watch that and then go, shit, I need to go to Vimeo and check out the rest of that show. Because from what I can see and from what I've heard from other people, it's a show that you don't want to miss. Aside from that, yep, go and support kickout.com.au. That is us for the year. I don't know. Well, I know that Making Chicken Salad won't be back till January. I might pop up every now and then. I might do a watch along or something like that. So look on the socials, because I'll inevitably get bored with just sitting at home. So I'll eventually want to do something. But personally, I want to thank Locke. I want to thank Jeff this year, especially. Another year down, boys. Thank you so much for joining me on this. Like I said, all the time. I absolutely love having you here. I love this team that we've got. I love this family that we've got now. Jamie, thank you for stepping in every time we've needed a third or needed a second. All it's really taken was a message to you. Go, yeah, I'll do it. When do you want me to do it? Mate, you're more than welcome anytime you want to come on. If you know that we're talking about a show that you've watched and you want to talk about it, hit us up, and you are more than welcome to join us any week, mate.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
And also,
sorry
yes.
to interrupt. And I don't know if you're about to mention the guy, but Nick Galea also stepped in
yes.
A couple of times through the year. I'm sure you're about to mention him, but Nick's a personal friend, so thank you very much, Nick. Really appreciate you coming in and giving your point of view, and also everyone in the chat, and that includes Nick quite often, and Rosie stopped derailing the fucking show. So yeah, that's they're big thank yous to those guys.
Yeah, but most of all, thank you to everyone that watches on stream, that downloads the podcast, that listens to it and supports Australian wrestling. Thank you to everyone that went out to an Australian wrestling show this year. I hope you fucking loved it. I hope you told some friends about it. I hope you got some friends along to watch other shows. Like I said, I'm not too sure what date we agreed we'll be back. We'll announce that in due time, and we'll talk about it then. But yeah, thank you so very, very much for supporting what we've done, what we're doing. Like I said, this is 11 year now. We're into 11 year now. Yep. This is 11 years. We're not stopping anytime soon. So we want to keep doing cool stuff like we did with Reawakening, where we helped through that whole week, like with interviews and stuff like that. That's what this show's for, is to build the Australian audience as much as we can. We're here to support them. We are happy to do that. We've always been happy to do that. We're a huge family, and I think we should all support each other. So, yes, Jeff, you look like you need to say something.
A personal note, this isn't to go into chicken shit or chicken salad of the year. We'll do that later. But just on a personal note, this is the year I got to talk to Bianca Belair Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Becky Lynch, and Rhea fucking Ripley. It's no small feat, Todd, that you were a big part of that. You know, so thank you very much, mate. And boy, was I chuffed running around and interviewing them. It was a real pleasure. So thank you, mate.
Lachlan did some great interviews this year too.
Yes. I had some moments, let me tell you. Darby Allin, freaking sitting across the table from Buddy Matthews. Man, oh man.
I've got to tell this because, like, it's a very cute story. Because I get the whole raw, unedited footage of these interviews to edit them. And our good mate up in the top corner there, just before the Darby Allin interview, because I see both sides, and he's like this. He goes, "All right, so we're ready to go, mate. Yep, cool, okay." I was just like, "Oh, you little deer in the headlight, you."
Oh yeah.
Speaking of deer in the headlight, another highlight is this.
If you want to see that, you can look on our Facebook page right now. I'm staring at it. An Andre Irons shirt right there. Classic stuff. Jamie, do you have anything else you want to shout out before we go?
No, just thank you to you guys for having me on this year, and it's been great fun.
Boys, I get the absolute honor of sending us off for the year. As always, all three of you have all of my love, as do everybody out there in the podcast world who listens to us every week here at twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia every Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, 8:30 p.m. Australian Daylight Savings Time. Come join the chat like all the people did here that made tonight such a joy. It is always an absolute pleasure. On behalf of Todd Eastman, Jeff Setti, and Jamie Apps, for the last time in 2024, until we see you again in 2025, have a good one.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it.